You've done the thing where you check your balance 3 days before payday, and the number is smaller than you expected, and you sit there trying to reconstruct where it went. And you can't. Not really. You remember a few things: groceries, gas, that one dinner, but none of it adds up to the gap. So you decide that next month you'll be more careful. And next month the exact same thing happens. I want to tell you something up front. That is not a discipline problem. It's not a willpower problem. In most cases, it is a visibility problem, and it has a fix. But the fix is not the budget you've already tried and abandoned. Here's why every budget you've downloaded has failed you. Almost all of them are built for someone with slack, someone with a few $100s of margin who just needs to be told where to put it. The 50-30-20 rule assumes you have 30% to spend on wants. If your rent alone is 40% of your take-home, that rule isn't a plan. It's a description of a life you don't currently have, and following it makes you feel like you're failing at something you were never set up to pass. A budget for a tight income has to do a different job. It's not about allocating surplus. It's about finding money that's already leaking and building a wall between the money that has a job and the money that doesn't. So here's what we're going to do over the next 15 minutes. 6 steps. You can do the first one tonight. Step 1, we find your real number. Not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Step 2, we sort every dollar into 4 buckets, and I'll show you why the 4th one is the reason your budget keeps breaking. Step 3, we deal with irregular expenses, which is where most people lose the game without ever knowing they played it. Step 4, we build a 2-account system so you physically can't spend rent money. Step 5, a starter buffer, and it's much smaller than you've been told. Step 6, a 10-minute weekly check that keeps the whole thing alive. Nothing here requires an app you have to pay for. Let's start. Step 1. Before you plan a single dollar, you need to know where the dollars currently go. Not an estimate. Estimates are the whole reason you're here. Everyone underestimates variable spending, and the research on this is consistent. People routinely guess low on food and low on small discretionary purchases, often by a wide margin. So open your banking app and pull the last 30 days of transactions. Everyone! If you use 2 accounts and a credit card, pull all 3. Write them down or dump them into a free spreadsheet. Don't categorize yet. Don't judge anything yet. Just get the full list in one place where you can see it. This takes about 25 minutes, and it is the single highest value thing in this video. A quick note on why 30 days and not a week. A week misses your rent, your insurance, and anything that hits monthly. 3 months would be more accurate, but almost nobody finishes it, and a plan you abandon is worth less than a rough plan you actually use. One exception: if your income is irregular, tips, commission, shift work, gig platforms, pull 90 days instead, and we'll use your lowest month as the planning number, not the average, the lowest. Building a budget on your average month means you're underwater every time you have a bad one, and bad months are exactly when the budget needs to hold. Step 2. Now we sort. 4 buckets, and the order matters. Bucket 1, fixed, same amount, same date, every month. Rent, car payment, phone, insurance, debt minimums. You know these numbers without looking. Bucket 2, variable necessities. You must pay them, but the amount moves. Groceries, gas, electricity, co-pays. Bucket 3, flexible. Everything you could cut tomorrow without a real consequence. Subscriptions, takeout, the coffee, the impulse stuff. And bucket 4, the one almost nobody has, irregular. These are real unavoidable expenses that just don't happen monthly. Car registration, the dentist, new tires, Christmas, a wedding gift, your annual credit card fee. Bucket 4 is why your budget keeps breaking. Hold that thought. Let's make this concrete with a real set of numbers. Say you take home $3,000 a month after taxes. Fixed. Rent $1,200. Car payment $340. Car insurance $145. Phone $70. Debt minimums $95. That's $1,850. Variable necessities, groceries $420. Gas $160. Utilities $180. That's $760. Flexible, subscriptions $58, and let's say takeout comes to $132. Call it $190. Add it up. $1,850 plus $760 plus $190 equals $2,800 against $3,000. On paper, you have $200 left every month, $2,400 a year. So why is your account at $61 3 days before payday? Step 3, and this is the heart of it. Let's total the irregular expenses that same household will face this year. Car registration, $180. Car maintenance and one set of tires, $600. Medical and dental beyond insurance, $400. Holidays and gifts, $500. Clothing and shoes, $300. Vet bills, $250. That's $2,230 a year. Divide by 12. $186 a month. Now go back. You had $200 left. Subtract $186. You have $14. That's the answer. You were never $200 ahead. You were $14 ahead, and the moment anything at all went wrong, you went negative. And then you blamed yourself for a math problem you couldn't see. The fix is a sinking fund. The name sounds technical. The idea is not. You take that annual total, divide by 12, and move that amount out of your spending money every single month before you spend anything else. In our example, $186 a month goes into a separate savings account and sits there. When the car needs tires in August, the money is already there. It's not an emergency. It's not a crisis. It's a Tuesday. This one move is the difference between a person who has an emergency every 3 months and a person who doesn't. Their income is identical. One of them just stopped being surprised by predictable things. Now, some of you just did that math and landed on a negative number. Your fixed and variable costs alone exceed your income. I'm not going to pretend a spreadsheet solves that, because it doesn't. But knowing the exact size of the gap changes what you can do about it. A vague sense of drowning has no next step. I am $140 short every month has several. That's a number you can take to a landlord to ask about a payment date change. It's a number you can take to a utility company's hardship program. It's the number that tells you whether a side income needs to produce $40 a week or $400. The gap doesn't get smaller when you avoid looking at it. It just gets less negotiable. Step 4. Everything we've done so far is information. This step is the one that changes behavior, and it works because it removes the decision entirely. Open a second checking account. Most banks and credit unions will do this for free in about 10 minutes, and it doesn't affect your credit. Account 1 is your bills account. Every paycheck lands here. Every fixed cost auto drafts from here. Your sinking fund transfer goes out from here. You do not have a debit card for this account, or if you do, you leave it at home. Account 2 is your spending account. On payday, one transfer moves what's left into it. That's the account your card is attached to. That's the money you're allowed to spend. Here's why this is more powerful than any app. When rent money and grocery money and takeout money all sit in one pile, every purchase requires you to do mental math against future obligations. You have to remember that rent is due in 11 days, every single time, dozens of times a week. Nobody sustains that. Not because they're weak, because it's an unreasonable amount of ongoing cognitive work. The two-account system does the math once, on payday, and then it's done. You look at your spending account, and the number you see is genuinely yours. If it says $210, you can spend $210, and nothing bad happens. You stop budgeting with your memory and start budgeting with your bank. One practical wrinkle: if you're paid bi-weekly, 2 months a year you get 3 paychecks instead of 2. Most people spend that third check without noticing it was extra. Look at a calendar right now and find those 2 months. Then decide today where that third check goes before it arrives. Sinking fund, starter buffer, one debt paid down, any of those. The decision just has to happen while the money is theoretical, because once it's in your account, it stops feeling like a windfall and starts feeling like normal money. If you're paid weekly, split your fixed costs across 4 transfers instead of 2. Same system, smaller increments. Step 5. You've heard you need 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. For our example household, that's somewhere between $8,000 and $17,000, and if you have $14 of margin, that target is not motivating, it's paralyzing. So ignore it for now. Your target is $500. $500 sitting in a separate account is the difference between a flat tire being an inconvenience and a flat tire being a payday loan. It covers the overwhelming majority of the small disasters that push people into high-interest debt. And unlike 6 months of expenses, it's reachable. At $40 a week, it's about 3 months away. Hit $500 first, then decide whether you want $1,000. The 6-month number is a goal for later, not a starting line. Keep the buffer somewhere with 2 properties. It has to be separate enough that you don't see it in your daily banking view, and reachable enough that you can get it in a day or 2. A savings account at a different institution from your checking works well. High-yield savings accounts are fine and the interest is a nice bonus, but do not let the search for the perfect rate delay you 3 weeks. The gap between a good rate and the best rate on $500 is a couple of dollars a year, not worth stalling over. What it should not be: a brokerage account, anything with a withdrawal penalty, or your regular checking account with a mental note attached. Step 6. 10 minutes, same day every week. Mine is Sunday morning. Pick yours and put it in your phone as a recurring alarm. 3 things. 1. Open your spending account and look at the balance. Just look at it. 2. Scan the week's transactions for anything you don't recognize. This catches subscription renewals, duplicate charges, and fraud, and it takes 90 seconds. 3. Ask whether anything unusual is coming in the next 7 days. A birthday, a copay, a trip. That's it. You're not rebudgeting. You're not categorizing. You're not judging yourself. You're taking a reading, the way you'd glance at a fuel gauge. Weekly, not monthly, for a specific reason. On a monthly cycle, by the time you notice a problem, it's already 25 days old and unfixable. On a weekly cycle, the worst case is that you're 4 days off course, and 4 days is recoverable with a small adjustment. There's also a psychological piece. A monthly review turns into a reckoning, a big, dreadful event you postpone. 10 minutes on a Sunday is too small to dread. And a system you actually run beats a better system you avoid every single time. Now let's talk about the part nobody covers, which is what happens when this fails. Because it will at some point, and how you handle that week determines whether the system survives. Some month you'll overspend. The car will need something expensive, or you'll have a bad week and order takeout 4 times. And the instinct is going to be to declare the whole thing a failure and stop. Don't. 1 bad month in a budget is like 1 missed workout. It's data, not a verdict. What you do is simple. Note what it cost, adjust the affected bucket for next month, and continue. You do not restart. You do not rebuild the spreadsheet from scratch. You adjust one number and keep going. Give this 3 months before you judge it. Month 1 is chaos. You'll find expenses you forgot, your sinking fund estimate will be wrong, and you'll transfer the wrong amount at least once. That's normal. Month 2, the numbers start to settle. You'll adjust 2 or 3 categories to match reality. Month 3 is when people notice the thing they actually came for, which is not more money. It's the feeling of knowing. You'll check your spending account and the number won't surprise you. That's the whole payoff, and it arrives before the savings do. 3 mistakes to avoid. First, too many categories. People build a budget with 22 line items, spend 40 minutes a week maintaining it, and quit in week 3. 4 buckets is enough. Add a 5th only when a specific problem forces you to. Second, budgeting for the person you wish you were. If you've eaten takeout twice a week for 4 years, do not write down 0, write down 2. A budget built on a fantasy version of you fails in the first week and takes your confidence with it. Budget for who you actually are, then change slowly if you want to. Third mistake, thinking an app will do this for you. Budgeting apps are useful once you have a system. They are not a substitute for one. An app that categorizes your spending after the fact is a report card, not a plan. It tells you that you spent $410 on food last month. You already knew that felt like a lot. It doesn't tell you what to do differently. The 2-account system works because it changes what's physically available to spend. No amount of dashboard prettiness does that. If an app helps you run the system, use it. If you're using it instead of a system, it's just a very detailed record of the problem. One more thing, because I don't want to oversell this. Everything in this video is about control, not income. Finding $186 of invisible leakage is real and it matters. But if your gap is genuinely structural, budgeting harder will not close it. What a working budget does is give you the exact number you need, which makes every other move possible. It tells you how much a raise needs to be worth. It tells you whether moving saves you enough to justify the cost of moving. It tells you what a side income actually has to produce. The budget isn't the destination, it's the instrument panel. You still have to fly the plane. Let's put it back together. 1. Pull 30 days of transactions and find your real number. 90 days if your income swings, and plan on your lowest month. 2. Sort everything into fixed, variable, flexible, and irregular. 3. Total your irregular expenses for the year. Divide by 12, and move that out every month before you spend anything. 4. 2 accounts, bills in one, spending in the other, 1 transfer on payday. 5. $500 in a separate buffer, not 6 months, $500. 6. 10 minutes, same day every week. Step 1 takes 25 minutes and you can do it tonight. Everything else follows from it. If you take one thing from this, the reason your money disappears is almost never the reason you think. It's rarely the coffee. It's usually a predictable expense you had no system for, hitting a budget that had no room for it. $14 of margin isn't a character flaw. It's an accounting problem, and accounting problems have solutions. Do step 1 tonight. 30 days of transactions, one list, 25 minutes. Then come back and tell me what number you found. I read the comments, and the invisible expense people uncover is different every time.